Here's a truth most people won't say out loud. If a man is completely certain he can't lose you, he slowly stops trying. Not because he's evil, not because he doesn't care, but because the male brain relaxes when there's no perceived risk. And when effort disappears, attraction usually follows. This topic isn't about manipulation or playing childish games. It's about understanding how men psychologically respond to value, absence, and emotional consequences. A man worries about losing you when he feels that your presence in his life is meaningful, but not guaranteed. When you're valuable and self-directed, his brain pays attention. Many men say they want a good woman, but they subconsciously test how much effort she requires to keep. If she overgives, overexplains, and overinvests, the signal sent is simple. She's not going anywhere. And once that signal is locked in, urgency fades. What we're really talking about here is leverage. Not power over someone, but self-respect and emotional positioning. Men don't fear losing women who revolve their entire life around them. They fear losing women who have options, standards, and a life that doesn't pause for anyone. This video breaks down 6 psychological shifts that make a man stop taking you for granted and start paying attention again. Not through threats, not through drama, but through quiet confidence, emotional boundaries, and behaviors that trigger reflection. Before we go deeper, welcome to the channel. If you're here to understand male psychology better, whether for dating, relationships, or self-awareness, you're in the right place. This space is about clarity, not confusion, strategy, not games, and growth, not bitterness. If you've ever felt like a man got comfortable too fast or stopped showing up the way he did in the beginning, this conversation will explain why and what actually works. 1. Certainty kills desire faster than rejection. Here's a reality check most women and even some men don't talk about. When a man is 100% certain you'll always be there, desire fades. Attraction isn't just about chemistry or connection, it's about risk and reward. When there's no perceived risk, his brain stops prioritizing the relationship. He relaxes, effort drops, attention wanes. Think about it like this. Imagine a man who has been dating a woman for months. She always answers his calls immediately, drops everything to see him, and never sets boundaries. On paper, it seems perfect, but his mind starts taking it for granted. The constant certainty reduces urgency. Love, in his brain, isn't an active pursuit anymore. It's a background default. Contrast that with a situation where she has her own life, commitments, and priorities. She communicates her availability thoughtfully. She doesn't always drop everything. He can't take her for granted. Her presence becomes earned, not automatic. That little spark of uncertainty keeps his attention on her, his desire alive, and his brain engaged. He begins to invest more emotionally because he's subconsciously aware that losing her would hurt, not just emotionally, but mentally. This isn't about playing cruel games or pushing a man away unnecessarily. It's about self-respect and value. Men are wired to pursue what challenges them just enough. When you remove all challenge, you also remove the thrill of pursuit. The result? A slow fade in interest. Even something as small as pausing communication occasionally, not over-explaining your feelings or keeping your own commitments, can create the right kind of healthy tension. That tension signals to his brain, she has standards, she has independence, she is not guaranteed. And once that signal is registered, his subconscious kicks in. He wants to ensure he doesn't lose something rare and valuable. A man doesn't notice this consciously at first, but the behavior change is real. He might start checking in more often, complimenting more genuinely, and showing deeper effort without being prompted. That's the power of controlled certainty. It flips the dynamic. Desire is not about fear, it's about a quiet recognition of value and the possibility of loss. 2. Why availability lowers your value over time. One of the biggest mistakes women make is being too available. It seems harmless, even generous, but the truth is that constant availability can slowly erode a man's desire. When he knows you're always there, ready to answer, ready to drop plans, ready to bend, his brain stops treating your attention as valuable. It becomes expected, almost ordinary. And ordinary doesn't spark pursuit or urgency. Men are wired to chase what they perceive as scarce or high value. Scarcity doesn't mean playing mind games, it means having a life, priorities, and boundaries that aren't centered around him. If he can rely on you 24/7 without any effort on his part, the brain interprets it as low stakes. Interest may remain, but the emotional intensity fades. That's why relationships often feel comfortable early on, then suddenly lukewarm a few months later. It's not just about physical presence, it's about emotional presence too. Constant emotional availability, always explaining, always justifying, always accommodating, sends a subconscious signal. I'm predictable. I'm safe. I'm not going anywhere. That safety is good for long-term stability, but it doesn't fuel desire. Men need the push and pull, the subtle tension, to stay mentally engaged and emotionally invested. When a woman maintains her own life, men can't take her for granted. She has hobbies, friendships, and responsibilities that demand her attention. She doesn't cancel her plans just to be immediately available. She isn't always waiting for messages to be returned instantly. That distance creates reflection. It makes a man think, I want her in my life, but she has her own. I can't assume she's always going to be here. That reflection triggers the fear of loss in a healthy, subtle way. This doesn't mean being cold or dismissive. It's about balance, showing interest, affection, and warmth while still having boundaries. Men are drawn to women who can give attention selectively because it communicates value. They respect women who don't overextend themselves. And ironically, the less available you are, the more likely he is to fight for your attention rather than taking it for granted. In short, overavailability reduces desire. Intentional presence increases it. Scarcity in a healthy way doesn't play games, it signals worth. Men notice it on a subconscious level, and that's when their brains start valuing you more deeply. 3. Men respect what they can't control. Here's a hard truth. Men are naturally drawn to what feels just out of reach, not because they're manipulative or cruel, but because the male brain assigns higher value to things it can't automatically have. If he can control, predict, or dominate every aspect of a woman's life, his interest slowly diminishes. Control kills desire. Men are wired to protect, pursue, and earn. When a woman is completely accessible, predictable, or compliant, his brain doesn't need to engage in pursuit. Desire thrives on challenge, uncertainty, and respect. If everything is handed to him, it loses significance. On the other hand, when a woman has autonomy, boundaries, and standards, it triggers engagement. He wants to match her pace, respect her rules, and earn her attention. Respect and control are closely linked. A man respects a woman who doesn't bend to his every whim, who has her own goals, friendships, and priorities. He notices when she maintains her dignity, even in challenging situations. That respect fuels deeper emotional attachment. Without it, he may enjoy the relationship superficially, but real investment rarely develops. It's also about psychology, not ego. Men subconsciously calculate the effort to reward ratio. When a woman is too easily available, that ratio tips in a way that reduces desire. When she maintains independence, it raises the ratio naturally. He now feels like he has to invest, which paradoxically makes him value her more. This dynamic is subtle but powerful. You don't have to manipulate, threaten, or withhold affection. Simply living your life fully, staying self-respecting, and not bending to his every whim communicates value without words. Men notice this subconsciously. It makes him pay attention, prioritize your presence, and yes, worry about losing you. The takeaway: autonomy, independence, and boundaries are not obstacles in love. They're the fuel that makes a man chase, care, and invest. Desire fades when he can control everything. It grows when he sees a woman as a partner he must actively appreciate and earn. 4. Stop chasing. Start being missed. Chasing a man rarely makes him value you more. In fact, constant chasing often does the opposite. It teaches him that your attention is guaranteed, and guaranteed attention kills urgency. Desire thrives when a man feels like he might lose what he wants. That's why being consistently available or bending over backward to please him diminishes attraction over time. Men notice patterns. If you always initiate contact, always adjust your schedule, or always compromise to make him happy, his brain starts to categorize your presence as default. It's no longer exciting or special, it's expected. And when something is expected, it isn't treasured. Instead, focus on creating space for him to miss you, not as a punishment, but as a natural reflection of your independence. Maintain your hobbies, your friendships, and your routines. Don't cancel plans just to accommodate him every time. Give him moments where he can reflect on your absence and recognize your value in his life. Being missed works because it triggers a subtle psychological effect. Men become aware of the gap your absence creates in their emotional landscape. When they notice that their day feels incomplete without your presence or attention, it activates both desire and appreciation. That's different from manipulation. It's a natural consequence of having a full life. This also shifts the energy of the relationship. Instead of constantly worrying about pleasing him, you redirect your energy toward yourself. That self-focus makes you more confident, grounded, and attractive. Men pick up on that confidence because it signals you are valuable enough to have priorities beyond him. Chasing may get temporary attention, but being missed builds long-term emotional investment. Desire is strengthened when a man realizes that your presence isn't guaranteed and that your attention must be earned. Ultimately, the goal is balance. Engage when you want to, show care when appropriate, but don't sacrifice your independence for constant reassurance. Let him come to value your attention, not take it for granted. When a man experiences that subtle pull, he begins to worry, not in a negative sense, but in a way that deepens his investment and keeps the spark alive. 5. The day you stop explaining yourself. One of the most powerful shifts in a relationship happens the day a woman stops over-explaining herself. Men often take repeated explanations for granted. When you feel the need to justify your actions, your time, or your boundaries, it signals that your presence is negotiable. Men subconsciously pick up on this. Over-explaining communicates availability, and availability lowers perceived value. Imagine a scenario. You've been planning a weekend with friends, and he asks why you can't spend the whole time with him. Instead of giving a long justification, you simply state your plans and move on. No guilt, no pleading, just clear communication. At first, it might feel uncomfortable because you're used to ensuring he understands every decision. But this subtle shift changes the dynamic instantly. When you stop over-explaining, it signals confidence and self-respect. You are not there to answer for your life choices, and that sends a clear message. Your attention is earned, not automatic. Men notice this even if they don't articulate it. Their brain registers that you have standards and a life beyond him, which sparks reflection. I need to value her more, or I risk losing her. It's not about being cold or distant. You can still be warm, affectionate, and connected. The difference is that you no longer compromise your autonomy to secure reassurance. This move forces him to pay attention to the value you bring rather than taking it for granted. Over time, men begin to appreciate the boundaries and independence you maintain. They notice the effort it takes to be part of your life, and desire deepens. When he starts to worry about losing you, it's not out of fear. It's out of recognition of your worth. This approach also encourages healthier relationship habits. By not over-explaining, you teach him responsibility for his own emotional engagement. He can no longer coast on certainty. He has to actively participate, respect boundaries, and invest in the connection. That's the difference between a man who merely enjoys your presence and a man who genuinely values it. 6. Why silence hits harder than arguments. Sometimes, the most effective way to make a man reflect on your value isn't by confrontation or drama. It's by quiet, intentional silence. Men respond differently to tension than women often expect. Arguing, pleading, or over-explaining rarely triggers real reflection. But a calm, consistent withdrawal of attention or engagement does. Silence doesn't mean being cold or unkind. It means stepping back, maintaining your boundaries, and allowing him space to recognize what he's taken for granted. When a man experiences this pause, it activates a natural psychological response. He begins to wonder why you're less available or why your energy isn't automatically devoted to him. That uncertainty engages his mind and makes him more aware of your value. Men are wired to chase what feels significant, and absence, used strategically, creates significance. It's not about playing games, it's about creating a natural consequence for inattention or complacency. When you're always present, he doesn't have to notice your effort. When you step back, he has no choice but to reflect. This works best when combined with consistency. If you withdraw your attention sporadically or emotionally overreact during disagreements, the effect is lost. Silence has power only when it's calm, intentional, and paired with self-respect. It's a signal, not a punishment. It tells him, I have standards and I value my time and energy. Interestingly, silence also gives you clarity. It prevents reactive behavior and emotional overextension. Instead of trying to force his attention, you let natural human psychology do the work. Men start to invest more, communicate more thoughtfully, and recognize the unique qualities you bring to the relationship. Ultimately, quiet self-possession speaks louder than arguments ever could. Men notice, men respect it, and crucially, men begin to worry, not in a manipulative way, but because they sense the depth of what they might lose if they don't engage more meaningfully. That subtle shift transforms complacency into pursuit, and it lays the foundation for deeper commitment. Here's a controversial truth. Many women think love alone keeps a man invested, but the reality is, it often doesn't. Desire, respect, and effort are earned continuously. If a man is comfortable taking you for granted, no amount of affection or loyalty will fix that. He only responds when he realizes there's a real risk of losing you. Understanding this isn't about playing games or being manipulative. It's about clarity, self-respect, and creating conditions where a man naturally reflects on your value. When you set boundaries, maintain your independence, and allow yourself to be missed, you're not being cold. You're signaling that your attention is earned and precious. That subtle shift triggers the male brain to notice, invest, and yes, worry, but in a productive, relationship-strengthening way. If any part of this resonated, I want to hear from you. Share your experiences in the comments. What's worked for you, what hasn't, or when you realized a man started taking you seriously only after you set firm boundaries. I read and engage with all comments, so this isn't just theory. We can discuss it together. Remember, maintaining your value isn't about fear or manipulation. It's about self-respect, confidence, and living a life that a man genuinely wants to be part of. Those who understand this principle rarely struggle with being taken for granted. Your attention is precious. Your time is limited, and the right man will recognize that without being reminded. Make him worry, but make it healthy, self-respecting, and inevitable.